Alright guys, so, last video, you guys really didn't like me in the comments during the F8 review where I basically said it's a way for C8 Corvette people to basically justify their failure for why they can't afford one and compare it in design. Now, you may have thought as a result of that I'm not an American car guy, and this is my American car that I love very much. So if you haven't really followed me, you don't know anything about me, it's a bad misjudgment, I like cars that make C8 owners feel poor, not go faster or slower. Now today though, we are not really looking at the F8 anymore. We are now looking at comparing my tailor-made Pista to this new 2020 F8 that we just got. So you may have been wondering before, well, side by side, they gotta kind of look similar, and they really don't. I mentioned that originally in the video when we reviewed this car specifically. I told you that there were some cues that this car takes from the Pista, but really it isn't like the Pista. So I want to point my attention to a couple of basic things that I pointed out last time when comparing the two cars. The first one is that you'll notice this piece here from the hood, basically taking a cue from this piece that I was mentioning earlier. You may have noticed on the Pista that is basically carbon. A very big difference in design. Now you also notice, like I mentioned in the earlier video, how much larger the Pista front vent is and how much prettier the front bumper is. Now there are quite a few differences. There's the fact that this car is $200,000 more than this one. And that's a big deal because you obviously get the best of the Pista and a very entry-level F8. And it wouldn't be fair to compare them. I mean, for example, you have this $20,000 plus option here with painted shields versus these very cheap generic shields like all the other cars for the last 10 years. Now, this isn't really a comparison of, which should have gotten better options, but rather, where is the difference in the cars? And is the F8 really that much better than the Pista 488? So, in my review, I said it is better than a base 488, but is it better than the Pista? So, we can see right away in the design cues I was talking about how you see here you have your plexiglass, here you have your plexiglass again with the now indents, so we see a very similar run. We also see here the design cues of the back here coming together and the little prancing horse. And then again, we follow this over here, finding exactly a very similar design, except the horse here is on the bumper. So a lot of similarities, yes, but is it really the same car, or which is actually better? Well, I'll tell you a couple of things about what I know about these cars, and I'll tell you my basic overview of it in a gist is this is significantly more exciting than this, like significantly more exciting. And there is one basic reason why, because this makes you feel like you're in a Ferrari, and this really makes you feel like you're in a daily driven R8 or something like that. And it doesn't have that makes you feel special feeling. So now let's look in detail as to why. You just want to fuck this. Like it's just like you just look at it and you just like every part of you just wants to like somehow put your cock somewhere in it, and that's what makes this so special. It's just like so beautiful. It's like mind-boggling. It's like art. It's spectacular in design. Like it's just like you feel like the king of Saudi Arabia driving this in the street, and it feels special. You feel like people are like looking at you, and they're just like their jaws drop, and like this is like what it should feel like to own a Ferrari. Like it just brings that out of you, and it brings the aggression when you drive it, and it's beautiful, and it's crazy looking, and it's just perfect looking. And then you look at this and you're like, why the fuck did I spend 300 grand on this? And it just doesn't hit home. But then you start questioning, what if I had spent 400 grand and spec this just as nice as that? Would I feel special? And this is where the argument comes. You see, there is about a $100,000 MSRP difference between these two cars without options. So it's not really a $200,000 question. It's more of a $100,000 question. And the reality comes down to, well, why would you want this when you can spend just a little bit more and have this? It just boggles my mind. In the old days, you had to, if you wanted a Special, well, there weren't that many of them, like 500 units. There's 3,500 Pistas plus. That's a lot of cars, which means that there's no shortage of these. And there's no shortage of these. So now the question is it $100,000 better to own one of these? And the answer is yes. It is $100,000 better. And like I was telling you earlier, you can really see the details here, even on the inside. The LaFerrari style gauges and the carbon and the way it comes together with the Alcantara, it feels special. And yeah, we talked before about how unusable this car is in the review because basically it just doesn't have a glove box or it doesn't have any storage space. I get that part. It's got a pretty big trunk, but it doesn't have anything else. And so this is more usable and more daily drivable. Like I can't park this at any restaurant. I can't give it to the valet. I would feel pretty comfortable saying any normal person can move this and not really cause any casualty to the car or anything. But it just, it saddens me because this is where the future of cars is going. You see, more and more these manufacturers are trying to please you because you have too much of an opinion about what you like or dislike. And what's happening is they need car sales because everyone else is making a supercar now. I mean, you have to understand that that's the problem. These guys are now no longer making only this, and they're making a lot of this because they want people like you to basically buy this. And this is okay, but it's not special. It's no different than a 911 Turbo. It's no different than an Audi R8. And it doesn't give you the feeling of this. It doesn't make you want to have sex with it from every fucking angle. I mean, this is glorious and this is average. And one of the things that comes through, the spec matters, but one of the things that matters more is the emotion of driving. And the emotion of driving comes from this significantly more than it comes from that. But this is extremely pretty to look at. And like I was saying in the review, it's a great angle as to where things are going. Now in the future, we'll have an SF90 like as soon as they come out, and then we'll be able to truly compare the Pista against the SF90 and really see if it makes more sense. Now, when we looked at the Pista versus the Speciale was a very special car, and I think the Speciale is just as nice as a Pista in its own realm. And that's the difference, is that I think it has a place in your collection on its own, and so does this Pista. But this car, I just can't get to if you already have the means of buying that car. Now, for those of you that are looking at, is the F8 better than the 488? In short, yes. Is it better than the Pista? In short, no. So there you have it, guys. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, and if you hate me because I remind you of how poor you are because you compare this to a Corvette, don't hate me. Just admit that you just need to work harder to be in a position to buy one of these. If it not, then don't justify your failure by doing that. It's just terrible, you know, it's just a horrible thing. Anyways, I know that guy that right now is like, I hate PJ, like he bothers me. I want to punch him in his face. I mean, if you want to fight me, we can fight about it, but I don't think you want to fight me. I think you just want to fight yourself. So maybe you go beat yourself up in a mirror or something and you'll feel better about the fact that you drive a C8 and somehow you compared it to an F8. Otherwise, for the rest of you that are actual real exotic car owners and buyers that actually have a real opinion because you back it with your wallet, buy that. Don't buy this, especially if you can afford that. Otherwise, that's it. Click the link below, take our free training, and learn why leasing exotic cars is no longer the best and most effective ways to own them. And of course, please comment, and we love trolls, so go at it right below. See you later.